I would like to welcome everybody to the 5,566th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. Rotary One is now in session. And as always, we start our program with the thought of the day. And for today, I have the pleasure of introducing my old friend and past president of the Rotary Club of Chicago, Mr. Khaled Akawi. Khaled, the floor is yours.
Hello, Eric. Gonna get a chance to test my audio. Is it clear?
You're coming through perfectly clear.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. I woke up this morning and I had a pop-up screen and my phone saying, reminder, thought of the day of Rotary One. And in honor of our guest speaker today, I had so many thoughts and it's difficult to really come up with one. So if it's okay with you, I'll be brief and quick on two of them. One, when Mayor Lightfoot first came and spoke to us first time, she was a candidate for the mayoral of Chicago, and she was a long shot. And she was an amazing speaker. Everybody enjoyed her. I had the honor to preside over that meeting. And she stood next to me at the podium and I asked, when you become mayor, underline the when you become mayor, will you come back and visit us? She replied, yes. The four-way test that Rotarian think, say, or do. Number one, is it the truth? Yes. She has been back multiple times. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your continuing support of this club. The second thought I had, which I must mention, is sometime in the near past future, I read or I heard something about Mayor Lightfoot when she was in high school. She had organized a boycott of a pizza and the quality of the pizza in her cafeteria. You know what the reward was? She was punished for detention, which got me to think of the great poet of Gibran Khalil once said, braving obstacles and hardship are braver than retreat to tranquility. You know what? Her boycott did get the school to do a better pizza for the students. On behalf of the students at that time, I thank you, Mayor. Hence, the fourth test of the four-way test is it beneficial to all concerned. That's the kind of mayor we have today. The takeaway is that when you stand your ground, and even when you win, there's always a price to pay. As a Rotarian of this club, of the first club in the world, and a sailor, pun intended here, I know that perseverance will get you through the roughest of the storm. So the call today is on the third and the fourth test, which is let's all continue to be truthful to each other. Let's continue to build better friendship and goodwill. And let's all get vaccinated, stand together, and build this city that I dearly love, we all love, back on its ground. Madam Mayor, as always, welcome back to the club. And thank to all of you from local, all around the world for your time. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Khaled. I knew that your thoughts would be insightful and would make me smile. So you're the right guy to do the thought today. Appreciate that, Khaled. As Khaled said, I do also want to greet all of our guests from around the world. Thank you for joining us today. All of our various VIPs, too numerous to mention. Many folks here from our district, past and future district governors. I know the Consul General of Australia plans to be on today, David Bushby. So thank you all for joining. Probably later, we might not have enough time with all the guests on today to run through everybody, but know that we are very happy that you're here with us today. Big visions, I've been told, are realized through the voluntary cooperation of a multitude of people of goodwill. At Rotary, we're all about big visions. And in this year of crisis, I've been so proud of our club for being filled with people of goodwill. Thank you to our members and our friends who have stepped up and continue to step up when our community needs us. For example, last April, that means 13 months ago, April, we sprang into action and started delivering meals to first responders to ease their burden and make sure they knew their city was behind them. As the initial crisis in the hospital subsided, we pivoted to delivering meals to low-income seniors who were isolated. In the last year, we've prepared and delivered over 2,700 meals. And then there's Job One, one of our signature programs for Chicago high school students, where we have doubled down during this challenging year. To tell us about how we're doing and what we're going to need from you, I'll pass the floor to our Job One chair and our club president designee, Alita Williams. Alita, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Eric. Do we have the video?
Hello, my name is Romel Shaw. I participated in Rotary 2017, my summer about to go into my freshman year of college. It was a great opportunity, I think, for me to get real life work experience, because before then I never really worked a job. And then this showed me or gave me like a view or a taste of how life after college or life in college would be of working a real job. Another thing that Rotary also helped me out with was my resume. First thing, it gave me some things to put on my resume saying that I worked at IIT, and they helped me write a decent resume that was well written and could help so that I could use this resume and other things like jobs outside of school. I could use my resume for that to apply for those as well. And they also taught me work etiquette and like mock interviews and how to interview in that process. So the work etiquette, make sure I dress the proper way and just overall be more confident in interviews, not to be scared about the outcome or anything. Just be yourself. And if they like you, they'll like you. I got an internship now outside of Rotary that Rotary probably helped me get this internship that I got right now. And it's a lot of good things that Rotary does with people.
So that was one of our wonderful students, Romel Shaw. And I just want you all to think about that first job that you had, your first real professional job, and how you started, your career, or where you decided where you wanted to work or what you wanted to do. That's what our Job One program does. It helps those students start that journey, going off to college, thinking about what it's like, and also being able to make some money to save up for college when they're on their way off. So we're reaching out to you today to help us continue to make this a reality. We had a record number of students this year that applied, and we need employers. So we want you all to be that catalyst, to be that mentor, to be that opportunity to these wonderful Chicago high school students throughout the city of Chicago, and help give them that first step to move forward in their careers. And if you have any questions, the information is posted right now. It'll be in the chat, or you can always reach out to anyone at the Rotary Club of Chicago in the administrative office that will help you get that information that you need to help be a part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alita. I appreciate that and all that you're doing. Before we introduce the mayor, we have one more announcement that we want to make. As you can tell, I think from Alita's announcement, we see education as one of the cornerstones of success for this city. And so our club is obviously heavily focused in this area. And today we're revealing to you our club's newest initiative with some big announcements. And to make those exciting announcements, I'm passing the floor over to our community service co-chair and board member, Sarah Buck. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Eric. So I am here to go over our CPS Opportunity Grants. So this will just be a brief overview of what the grant is, and we'll also be going over who the winners were. So next slide, please. So this project was open to any CPS pre-kindergarten through 12th grade teacher. The grants were for up to $5,000, and they could do it for the academic year that is just coming to a close in the next couple months, or for the next upcoming academic year. The grants were targeted toward improving student learning, which meets the objective of our Community Service Committee strategic plan of targeting education and basic literacy. So we set aside a portion of the Community Service Committee budget for this inaugural request for proposals, and we had 25 applications submitted. So what you see here, and then there's a couple on the next slide as well, are the schools who were approved for their grants. So we also include here the neighborhood and then a little bit about their project. So Doolittle Elementary, just as an example, was looking at a curriculum for 3D printing. And so there were a lot of STEM applications, but then we had some that were a little bit different from that. So, for example, Raby High School needed bus cards. Their kids were having trouble getting to school. Schubert Elementary is going to be taking students all around Chicago to the opera, to the Art Institute, to a Bulls game to get them out of their own neighborhood. Next slide, please. And we just got a couple more here as well. The World Language High School, just one more example. Their students are perhaps going to grow up to be nurses or EMTs. And so their grant was approved to purchase equipment for taking vital signs. And so that just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of the schools that earned the grant. Next slide, please. And you can see here a map of where these schools are in the city of Chicago. These schools are really in need of funding. That some of them have 100% free and reduced price lunch, for example. A lot of them are on the south and west side. So we were really excited to be able to bring this to the Chicago community. Next slide, please. I just want to thank the subcommittee, which includes my co-chair, Wes Westerfield, and then Neetha, Ted, Lisa, and Jody. We all worked really hard. It was an exciting process, and we look forward to seeing the outcomes from these grants. Thank you.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you for those great announcements. I look forward to working with all of those schools on the south and west side. And without further ado, it is now my pleasure to introduce our program's co-chair and, of course, our very own immigration attorney extraordinaire, Mr. Don Gardner. Don, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Eric. It's been truly a pleasure working with David Hirsch, my co-chair, on programming some of these committees. But certainly it's a great pleasure today to introduce our mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I will say that I'm not typically one to stick to the program as far as reading off the bio. So I'm just going to mention a few things similar to our past president, Khaled, who talked about Lori's work in high school. So I'd like to mention just the first of all is that she was born in Ohio, the youngest of 4 children. Her mom, Ann, was a nighttime healthcare aide and school board member. Her father, Elijah, was a local factory worker and janitor. She is a graduate of Washington High School, where she was a trumpet player in the school band, sang in the choir, alto, point guard on the basketball team, volleyball player, softball player, yearbook editor, and pep club member. She was elected high school president 3 times. And her platform, interestingly enough, was get on the right foot with Lightfoot, which I think is a great campaign slogan. As Khaled mentioned, she did organize a boycott to get better pizza, and her reward was detention. She received her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the University of Michigan in 1984, graduating with honors. She worked 7 different types of jobs to pay for her education, including as RA or resident assistant and as a cook for the school's football team. She matriculated at the University of Chicago, where she was awarded a full-time scholarship. As president of the University of Chicago Law School's student body, She led a successful movement to ban a law firm from campus after the firm sent a recruiter who made racist and sexist remarks. She also quarterbacked the intramural flag football team while at Chicago Law School. After graduating law school, she became a practicing attorney at Mayer Brown Law Firm, serving a wide cross-section of clients. Mayor Lightfoot first entered the public sector as Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, and she assisted with Operation Silver Shovel, an FBI investigation into Chicago corruption, which you will see has been a cornerstone of her mayoral, not only platform, but also currently. While working as a federal prosecutor, Mayor Lightfoot helped prosecute those accused of federal crimes, including drug crimes. After taking on several other positions focusing on corruption in the city, she decided to finally enter into politics. On May 20, 2019, Mayor Lightfoot officially took office as mayor of Chicago. Upon taking office, Mayor Lightfoot became the first openly LGBTQ Chicago mayor, the first Black female Chicago mayor, as well as the second female Chicago mayor after Jane Byrne, and the third Chicago Black mayor after Harold Washington and Eugene Sawyer. Despite facing COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter violent protests following the killing of George Floyd, the mayor has pushed through several important initiatives during her time in office. These include affordable housing, a possible new casino, ethics reform in the city council, education, and fiscal issues. I know personally that Mayor Lightfoot holds Rotary close to her heart. As Khaled mentioned, she's spoken several times at our club, but also one day last year, I came and saw her on the corner street waiting for her security team to arrive, and walked up to her in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. And although her security team kind of tightened up, as soon as I said Rotary, she warmly welcomed me. So please warmly welcome Mayor Lori Lightfoot to our club.
Thank you so much, Don, for that lovely introduction. Apparently, you've been talking to my mother. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Rotary Club President Eric Semple for inviting me to speak, and for all of you for being here tonight. As Don said, I do hold Rotary very close to my heart. This is, I think, the third or fourth time that I've spoken to this group. It is a great pleasure to be back here with you tonight. So let me just take you back a little bit to your history. Over a century ago, right here in our great city, the Rotary movement was formed by a small group of charitable professionals driven by a righteous and noble goal: to serve their community and foster fellowship in the business community. Since that time, the Rotary Club, as you know, has now expanded its reach and gone global, supporting over 1 million members across more than 30,000 clubs worldwide. And despite this impressive global reach, the Rotary Club's mission has remained the same: to take local action with passion, integrity, and intelligence, to promote ethical leadership, support education, and grow local economies. And let me just say, the work of the Rotary is more relevant now than ever. And let me talk a little bit more about why that's so. All of you here today, as well as your fellow club members across the globe, have and continue to go above and beyond to dedicate your professional careers to serve your communities. With a kind heart and strong mind, you are the living embodiment of the Rotary's motto, quote, service above self, end quote, and have gone on to do things that the club's founders in those first meetings in 1905 would likely never have imagined, but would be so proud to see. From bringing clean water to remote villages in Ghana, mentoring disabled youth in Korea, and notably immunizing 6 million children from polio in the Philippines. The Rotary Club's rich history is clearly woven into the fabric of our world, and thanks to its roots here in Chicago, is also an important part of our city's own approach to service. Time and again, our residents have remained resilient in the face of intense challenges and have come together despite all the odds to look after one another and stand tall in moments like this one to just be good neighbors. You'd be hard-pressed to find a neighborhood or a community in our city that isn't filled to the brim with this sense of camaraderie and collaboration and a shared desire to improve our city for the better. Again, very consistent with what Rotary stands for. Not only does Rotary Club of Chicago embody these ideals, but it's leading the charge in making those ideals a reality. Our city is undoubtedly a better place because of the Rotary Club service. And for example, you've served our youth by providing third graders at Chicago Public Schools with dictionaries through the Rotary Dictionary Project, and offered internships and scholarships to our students through your signature Job One program, which prepares 11th graders and graduating seniors who are 16 and over to enter college and the workforce. Now more than ever, it has become more clear that it takes a village to support our city's youth and build upon the district's work to provide quality education and access to opportunity. I was very impressed listening to the presentation before Don's introduction about the work that's being done to really fulfill the wishes of CPS schools that are most in need. So I am glad that you were part of our village. And I want to thank you for your continued support and advocacy on behalf of our students in particular. From initiatives like the Dictionary Project and Job One, charitable acts in our city and abroad, to build connections across our business community to strengthen our city's socioeconomic success. The work of the Rotary Club of Chicago has proven to be incredibly relevant, timely, and important, and has undoubtedly allowed the light at the end of the long, dark COVID-19 tunnel we've been in to grow bigger and brighter day by day. As we continue to respond to and recover from this pandemic, the charity of organizations like yours will continue to be invaluable as we protect and provide for our residents during this continued time of great need. And it is vital that each of you remain focused and diligent in this mission so we can fully create the more equitable and inclusive Chicago we all deserve once this pandemic is over. So moving forward, continue to draw inspiration from the Rotary Club's long, illustrious history across the globe. Continue fostering relationship and feelings of fellowship within the professional community. And whatever new projects you take on during these final hurdles of the pandemic, be proud of how far you've come, what difference you've made, and the legacy that you've built for the Rotary Club across many nations. And know that at every step of the way, the city of Chicago will be your partner in this work. My administration has already begun to map out our city's road to recovery with robust and strategic response to all of the challenges that our residents have faced over this past year. But we need partners, and particularly, we need you. We need the Rotarians to stand tall with us on this journey as we move forward to renew and replenish our city so that everyone feels this recovery personally and directly. It's critically important that we have your partnership, your fellowship, and your leadership on this journey. As challenging as these moments have been, and they have been, It's also an opportunity for us as city leaders and community partners to come together and work together in ways unlike before, which in turn allows us to grow stronger as a city, as a community, and as individuals who are all of us committed to service. So, folks, thank you once again. Thank you for being who you are, your commitment to a set of shared values and principles, and being a partner with our residents, particularly in this time of greatest need. So I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be in your presence always. So thank you for inviting me and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We really appreciate your comments. We appreciate your commitment to Rotary. As you may or may not know, Rotary's first official act in Chicago was to build a comfort station next to City Hall in 1905. So it's nice to hear that we're continuing our partnership so many years later. I'll just start with a couple of questions and then pass it on to our president, who has some questions from the audience, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So I'll start with Chicago Public Schools. My three daughters are CPS students, two at Greeley Elementary and one at Northside Prep. And my wife, Elisa, teaches over at Greeley as well. And it's somewhat concerning, of course, sending back our kids, our teachers during this time of COVID. How do you feel, particularly with the change, the current change in the administration of Chicago Public Schools, how's it going?
Great question. Look, this has been very difficult, but I feel very optimistic about where we are and where we're headed. Shutting down an entire school system on essentially a day or two notice was not something that I expected to have to live through when that happened back in the spring of 2020. We really had to spring into action and stand up a remote learning platform almost from scratch. So last year was a big challenge, but I think we learned a lot of valuable lessons. And we did a lot of things heading into this school year to make sure that we had the most robust learning experience for our students. And if you'll indulge me, let me share a few things. Back in the summer, because we saw that so many families did not have access to Wi-Fi and broadband, we knew we had to fill that void. Unfortunately, even in a city like Chicago, there are places in our city where there is literally no Wi-Fi or broadband access. And if you're a family that struggles financially, that gap is even wider. So we put together a program called Chicago Connected. And it's a $50 million program in conjunction with CPS and many of the large internet service providers, notably Comcast and RCN, where we are providing free, emphasis on free Wi-Fi and broadband access to CPS families. We spent a tremendous amount of effort doing outreach, connecting, working with community organizations, so there would not be a reason why our students wouldn't be connected when the school bell rang for this year. I think the program has been an overwhelming success, but more work that we need to do to make sure that we're connecting even further families. And as we look to next year's school year, we're looking at, we built this infrastructure, so how do we use that even as we hope to return full-time to in-person learning? So you said your daughter is at Northside, great teachers at Northside, really great in innovative classes. Well, given that we now have this remote infrastructure, why can't we beam a class from Northside or Peyton or one of the other selective enrollment schools to another high school, maybe a neighborhood high school, to give those children the benefit of that learning? So I think there's a lot of innovation that you're going to see coming out of CPS, born initially of necessity, but now that we're going to keep because it works and it works well to keep our students connected. And yes, you mentioned the fact that there will be a transition in leadership at the end of the school year. And let me just first say, Dr. Janice Jackson has done a tremendous job in her 3 years as the CEO. But it's time for her and her family to make other decisions about how she's going to be spending her time. And I respect that. I think this gives us a tremendous opportunity. We have resources that are coming in from the federal government. We have great talent throughout the district. And while the leadership will change, the CPS is built in such a way that one person or even two is not going to completely change the direction of the school system. And importantly, we have work to do, a mission to accomplish, and that is creating even more opportunity for our young people. I mentioned in my remarks about building a village. And I think one of the things that is a big lesson learned for me coming out of the pandemic is that we have to look holistically as a city, not just CPS, but as a city, about what we need to do to create that village, to really strengthen support for families that are in need. If we're going to talk about giving our kids the best opportunities for success in life, we've got to think about that from birth to the time that they hit school and then thereafter. And that means we've got to build that family, that village of support around their families. And you'll hear more from me on that as we talk about how we will be using the American Rescue Plan resources that we were fortunate to get as a city. But I feel very optimistic about CPS. Given the talent that we have here in Chicago within the system, the CPS diaspora, individuals that have gone off and been very successful in other places across the country. Also, just given the level of talent in the supervisors and number 2 and number 3 ranks across the country, we're going to find a great leader to push CPS forward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate to hear that. To switch gears a little bit, as you probably are aware, I'm an immigration lawyer, as Eric had mentioned. And what are your thoughts about the recent changes, or I guess rollbacks of the Trump administration policies by President Biden? And will Chicago remain a sanctuary city for immigrants?
We will absolutely remain a sanctuary city and a welcoming city. You know this story. Our city was built by immigrants. 150 plus years of talent and blood and sweat and tears that have come from our immigrant and refugee communities that hail from all parts of the world. They've had a very tough time, particularly over these last 4 years, with the rhetoric that came from the prior administration. But we've stood strong in Chicago. We've eliminated all the carve-outs in the Welcoming City Ordinance, so there can never be any going back. We don't cooperate with ICE. We will not aid and abet the deportation of people here who are just here trying to live a safe, free life. We have to support, not penalize people who are living that life. So we stand strong as a welcoming city and always will be. Look, I think there's a lot that has to be undone. The harm that was done by ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, particularly the disastrous policies, in my view, at the border. Never in my lifetime would I ever have thought that the United States of America would have put children in cages and separated them from their parents. That is a harm and a scar on who we are as Americans. We have to undo and right those wrongs. And I think the Biden administration has been dealt a very difficult hand, but I think is making progress in doing the right thing. But first and foremost, whether it's here in the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, or the United States generally, we have to live our values. It's not enough to say what we stand for. We've got to show and demonstrate on a daily basis what we stand for. That's one of the reasons why I urged the city council, and they agreed in our last budget, to create a specific committee to address immigrant and refugee issues in this city. That's why we continue to support the fund that supports litigation and other legal services for immigrant and refugees who are going through a very Byzantine immigration system, as you well know, Don. So there's more that we need to do. And in looking towards our recovery, you know this as well, people that live in our city who are undocumented have not benefited from the federal dollars that have come. But I want to make sure that we continue to do the right thing. We never ask citizenship or any other discriminatory characteristics when we provide resources to our residents. And we've got to keep making sure that we do that because everyone is in need, and particularly those who have been harmed by discrimination and harmful rhetoric.
Certainly, we don't see any cages at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. Right. Final question before I hand it off to President Eric. As an alum of the FBI Citizens Academy, I understand that the FBI is focused on corruption in Illinois and has long done so. What are going to be your continued efforts to root out corruption and continue this fight?
That's a great question. We have done a lot with bringing new ethics reforms to the city of Chicago. But if I can, let me answer your question by giving you an anecdote. Maybe none of you have read cover to cover the indictment of Alderman Ed Burke, but I have. Part of it is my interest as a former federal prosecutor, but I also wanted to understand what the federal government was alleging against this alderman who really had unchecked power for decades. There's a little anecdote in that indictment that to me really says a lot about where we are in our fight against not big C corruption, but small c corruption that's every bit as insidious. And the story is this. One of the things that Alderman Burke is charged with is trying to shake down a Burger King franchisee because he wanted to get their tax business. This was a big deal franchisee with Burger Kings all across the country. And Alderman Burke, as he did, wanted to leverage his position as the finance chair to get business for his law firm as a property tax appeals lawyer. The Burger King operator wasn't really interested and kept kind of putting him off. Well, at one point, the alderman and his staff whistled over somebody from the building department, the city's building department, went to the alderman's office, spent about 5 minutes there, clearly getting some instructions. And then this low-level buildings employee went to this Burger King in the ward that was simply redoing its drive-through, and on the basis of trumped up, non-existent city violations, cited the Burger King and shut down their operation, consistent with what the alderman wanted. Now, that may seem inconsequential, but what that says to me is the corruption of city employees who this individual saw nothing, thought nothing of going, following instructions, making up violations to shut down a business that was simply trying to do work to enhance the value of his business, and did that without question just because he got instructions from a powerful alderman. So all the things that we're trying to do until we get to that level, until we get to those front-facing city employees and let them know they must do the right thing, but also empower them to do the right thing without fear of reprisals from politicians, that's our challenge. There's our next milestone. So we've got to keep doing the work of opening up government, being transparent, and as I said, living our values of good government and ethics to make sure that we are shining a light on the people who are doing the right thing for the right reason, but also shining a glaring spotlight on those who do not. So the challenge still remains, but I'm enthusiastic about our ability to slay that dragon once and for all.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate your time, you agreeing to come and speak to Rotary today, I'm going to pass it off to our president, who may ask you a few more questions. But again, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Don, and thank you very much, Mayor Lightfoot. Do you have time for a few more questions?
I have a little bit of time for maybe one or two more questions.
Okay. Well, I'll give you two hopefully easier questions. We have a lot of questions coming in from the audience, and they're great questions. But how about a little more interesting one here? What is the most interesting or surprising thing that you have learned becoming mayor that maybe you didn't know before?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. I will say it's not a surprise, but it keeps me energized every day. And that's really the incredible generosity of people all across the city. You know, this has been a really difficult year on all of us. And we've all been carrying burdens that we didn't expect to be carrying over the course of this year, certainly pre-pandemic. But the way in which people have stepped up and been incredibly generous, again, consistent with the spirit of the Rotary in, staffing food banks, making donations, providing care kits for healthcare workers, just the basic things of being really good neighbors. Anytime that I feel despair or get down and I hear and see these stories, it just really lifts my spirit. And I put Chicago up to any city across the globe in the level of generosity and resiliency of our residents. It's truly been remarkable.
Yeah, amen to that. I completely agree. You mentioned in your remarks, and I just want to respond to this, that you have our partnership, our fellowship, and our leadership. So what one thing can we do as Rotarians that would most support your efforts and most support the city and most help us come back better?
Another great question. Look, there's a lot of need across the city. And again, I'll go back to the presentation that was made right before I was introduced. Helping our young people see beyond their current circumstances, really experience all the greatness that our city and our world has to offer. Really digging down on those opportunities, I think, is one of the greatest things that this group could be. I firmly believe in the expression that you can't be what you can't see. And thinking about our young people, some of whom still live in neighborhoods and have never seen our Great Lake, who don't know our downtown, who feel trapped by circumstances. If we can build lifelines to them, to go back to what I said before, to build that village, that is, I think, one of the greatest things that we can do. Our young people have been through a lot of trauma, a lot of stress. I know from my own experience as a mother of a 13-year-old, my daughter has every resource at her fingertips, but yet being disconnected from school, which is one of the greatest and most important parts of a young person's social life, and being disconnected from their friends, not being able to participate in extracurricular activities, all the things that made my experience as an elementary school and high school student that much richer. We've got to rebuild that social network for our young people. So I would look for opportunities to get involved in those kinds of efforts. That, I think, could be a tremendous contribution to our city.
Fantastic. Well, we will make note of that and see how we can support those efforts.
Yeah, and we're happy to give you, we've got a list, so we're happy to share that with you for opportunities to get involved.
Please do share that with us, and we'll see if we can start crossing things off of that list. Mayor Lightfoot, we are so appreciative of you being able to come with us, share our evening with us today. As you said, for the third time, and we have a couple of tokens of appreciation for your time with us. The first is a candle that we provide to all of our speakers And as with everything we do, we're trying to support community-based organizations and affect lasting change in our city. And so all proceeds from these candles support Bright Endeavors. And they're an organization that's located on the west side of Chicago. And their mission is to empower young moms by providing transitional jobs and professional skills training. So that helps those moms, supports their kids, and obviously, ultimately, the community. So we will have one of these in the mail to you right away.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. That's the first thing. And then the second item is just a reaffirmation of how much we value the relationship we have with you and how much we appreciate that you come and share your time with us. So myself and my board would like to offer you an honorary membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago if you are willing to accept that.
Oh, without a doubt. Thank you. It's a great honor. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because we didn't have a slide that said what happened if you rejected. It was maybe a picture of me sobbing in the corner or something like that. So that's wonderful. So we want to continue to work together to help the city, whatever we can do. If there are folks on your staff who want to attend our meetings to share their needs, your office's needs, and collaborate, that would be wonderful as well.
We will definitely do it. And before I sign off, let me say hello to my longtime friend, Mike Ferris. Great to see you, Mike.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Everybody, please give a nice virtual round of applause for Mayor Lightfoot. We wish you the best, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
All right, you as well. For all of our guests with us here tonight, please stick around. We have, as Mayor Lightfoot mentioned, so many wonderful things to talk about, and we'd like to be able to share those with you. I know that we have many guests with us here tonight. Obviously, we don't have time to go through and do all of our guest introductions, but I do want to give you all a shout out and know that I know that you're out there, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that many of you who joined us here tonight as guests also have contributed to the Rotary One Foundation when you registered, and know that we do see that and we do appreciate that. So to go through our announcements here tonight, let's start with some of our member successes. You heard earlier this evening from Sarah Buck, and I want to congratulate her on earning a Faculty Excellence Service Award from Chicago State University, where she's a full professor in the Department of Health Education, Physical Education, and Recreation. She, in addition to her leadership position with Rotary One, also serves on the executive board and is past president of the Illinois Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. And she was honored for all that she does to support the university and to support the community. I'd also like to thank the volunteers that came out last weekend to help with the Job One resume review. I was out there. We also had Marilyn Lopez and Katie De La Hunt, Donner Call, and Nick Latimer from Rotaract. Thank you all for coming out and supporting our Job One students through your resume reviews. There's going to be more needs there in the future. I'll get to that in just a moment. We have meals for seniors starting up again this Friday, May 7th. Deliver meals. Alita prepares the food. You show up, you knock on doors, and you make somebody's day. We deliver meals to 70 low-income seniors at 150 West Maple. You can sign up on the Rotary One calendar. We also have a district day of wellness and service, where all across the district, folks will be having projects to stay healthy and to do service. For our club, we're going to be doing a river kayak cleanup on May 23rd. This is going to be popular, so sign up as quickly as possible. It's May 23rd, Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. You get to show up, bring a net if you want to use a net. Otherwise, Kayak Chicago will provide gloves, and bags. Go to the calendar and sign up. We do want you to register by May 14th, just so we have a head count. We also have a volunteer request from the district for a vaccine pop-up site. As Khaled said at the beginning, we want everybody to get vaccinated so that we can all get together. But this is not just for us, it's for the whole community. And what better way for Rotary to help out in COVID than to support vaccination efforts? Let's face it, that is globally one of the things we're most famous for. So Sinai Chicago is coordinating a pop-up clinic on Saturday, May 8th from 8 to 12 p.m. and another from 12 to 4 p.m. Again, the information is on our website. It is also in the Gyrator newsletter. They're looking for volunteers who can support logistics, registration, sanitation. You don't need to be a doctor or a medical professional to do this. Now, how do we pay for all of these fantastic projects that we do? We do it by our collecting money through our annual campaign for the Rotary One Foundation, as well as the Rotary International Foundation. I will just quickly summarize that our annual campaign continues to proceed. We're making great progress, but we want all of our Rotarians to contribute at least something to the campaign. And via the link that you see before you, and which will also be in the chat box, you can contribute. Any amount is appreciated. We collect money both for our own foundation as well as the Rotary International Foundation, which helps to support the projects that we do locally, but also the projects that we do globally, some of which Mayor Lightfoot hit upon. And these include things like polio eradication, like HPV vaccines in Senegal, hospital equipment in Bolivia, and so on, and so on, and so on. So we have a couple of other events coming up locally and for the district. So let's start with the district conference, which happens June 3rd through the 5th. All Rotarians are invited to attend that. There is no cost, and it is over Zoom, making it fairly easy to attend. And the first 300 to register get a pretty fancy swag bag. So please do sign up for that as soon as you can. And then at a much bigger level, there is the Rotary International Convention. For those who are not familiar, the Rotary International Convention gets 30, 40, 50,000 people together from Rotary clubs, the 36,000 Rotary clubs in 200 countries across the globe. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it was the in-person convention was canceled this year in Taipei. However, it is still virtual, and I think you can still capture the early bird rate of $49, and that goes from June 12th through the 16th. And then, of course, we have all of our own meetings here at the Rotary Club of Chicago that are going on as always. And we have our Community Service Committee on May 6th, International Service May 12th, PR and Marketing Committee on May 20th, and then our next board meeting on June 1st. In fact, the last board meeting over which I will be presiding. And we invite all folks, members, to attend any of these meetings and learn how the club works and how the decisions are made. As we continue to slowly dip our feet back into the waters of in-person fellowship, we have our Friday roundtables. Those are every Friday, including this Friday. Show up between 12 and 12:30 at the Union League Club of Chicago at 65 West Jackson, and come up to the 4th floor. And you're sure to meet 5 or 10 of your closest Rotary friends for a casual lunch on your own dime. But it's a great opportunity outside of our more structured Tuesday meetings such as this, where you can listen to other Rotarians speak other than just me. So please come on by. And even if you're not a member of our club, if you're a member of a different club, or if you're thinking about Rotary, come on by and just say you're there for Rotary and come up to the 4th floor, and we'd be glad to welcome you for lunch. We have a variety of great programs coming up. Obviously, we had a great program today, thanks to the great work of our programs committee. Thank you, Don and David. We have on May 11th, Gia Biaggi. She's the commissioner of the Chicago Department of Transportation. I know there were some questions here today in the chat box that maybe got into some specific infrastructure related questions. Well, the Commissioner of Transportation will be here next week, so we can ask her directly. And then on May 18th, we have Maria Woltjen, the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. So that also should be a very, very interesting presentation. We have many guests with us today. We normally ask one of our guests to recite the four-way test. I'm going to ask one of our old friends from Sweden who's on here today, if she's willing to read the four-way test. Carrie Goleb. Carrie, are you still on? And would you be interested in reading the four-way test for us, which is on the screen right now?
The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you so much to all of our guests here today. I will stick around if anybody wants to chat further, but with that, meeting adjourned.